Can you imagine how the MCU would look and feel if it had everything? All its characters, all its worlds, all its mythologies, finally under one roof. No more missing mutants, no more dancing around the Fantastic Four, no more awkward walkarounds for major characters like they are part of some witness protection program. Just Marvel, unrestricted. Tell me, wouldn't you be excited for something like that? Because for the first time in years, it feels like Marvel's actually headed in that direction. The reboot isn't about just wiping the slate clean, it's about finally using the whole canvas, and trust me, there's a lot of potential there. This could be the first time we see the MCU live up to the full promise of what Marvel storytelling can be. And if you don't get why that is, let me explain. To understand why this reboot even matters or why it's even important, we have got to take it way back to the beginning. The MCU as we know it started with an underdog, Iron Man. No one was betting on Iron Man to do anything. He was a B-lister, a backup Avenger in the comics, and the first real shot Marvel Studios had at launching their own cinematic universe, which felt like the biggest red flag because Iron Man wasn't well known, but Marvel had no other choice but to do something with the character, seeing as they were limited since not having the X-Men, no Fantastic Four, no Spider-Man. All the big boys were licensed out to other studios. It was like trying to build the Avengers with a box of scraps. So what did they do? They got creative and they leaned on character work and grounded storytelling. Tony Stark wasn't just a quote-unquote superhero. The MCU took the liberty to add more depth to his character by making him this deeply flawed man, confronting his own legacy. Captain America wasn't just a patriot, he was a man out of time, struggling with relevance. Thor wasn't just a god, he was a spoiled warrior who needed humility. In the absence of the household names, Marvel had no other choice but to make us care about the lesser knowns, and they did that beautifully. But this necessity became a double-edged sword. See, the MCU's biggest handicap, not having access to its most iconic characters, somehow became its greatest strength. It forced Marvel to build its universe from ground up, to make us fall in love with characters we barely knew. Guardians of the Galaxy, a talking raccoon, and a tree that made people cry. That's a wild thing to think about. But this approach also created a kind of creative safety net. Because it didn't have the full Marvel roster, the MCU leaned heavily into this specific tone that was more lighthearted, more formulaic, but emotionally grounded. That alone gave it the edge over its more gritty and over-serious counterpart, the DCEU. But as the universe expanded, that consistency slowly started to feel like sameness. And after Endgame, it all kind of unraveled. People knew what the MCU was like without its heavy hitters. After Endgame, the MCU lost its center of gravity. The Infinity Saga was over, Tony and Steve were gone, the emotional weight they had has been paid off, and suddenly, that safety net of formula and familiarity became a creative prison. Projects started feeling hollow, characters became plot devices, the spark was fading. Even with Spider-Man and the multiverse, it felt like Marvel was running out of reasons. They couldn't quite build upon what they had before. Now, imagine if that wasn't the case. If, after Endgame, Marvel never had any issues because they had full access to all their characters right from the beginning. Imagine an MCU where the mutants were already part of this world, where the Fantastic Four's legacy as Marvel's first family was baked into the cinematic timeline, where Magneto was more than a wishful fan theory and Doctor Doom wasn't trapped in development limbo or whatever is going on in Doomsday. How, after Endgame, the MCU would have been able to shift its narrative to something with just as much impact as the Avengers, with little effort needed. Sure, we can't really hold the MCU to that, since most of these characters' rights were still held by Fox. But also, if they had planned a lot earlier, they would have still made it work nonetheless. But that's just my own opinion, I guess. It's easy to see how the restrictions of the early MCU both shaped it and limited it. And post-Endgame, those limits became way too obvious. But now, those limits are gone. Or at least, in a way, they are gone. And it's actually where things get really interesting. Because let's be honest, the idea of the MCU rebooting after Secret Wars has been floating around for ages. We've all heard the theories, and when Marvel dropped the Doomsday Cast announcement, they really leaned into the suspense. I mean, we spent actual minutes staring at cheers just to get surprised with casting reveals for the Avengers, the X-Men, and the Fantastic Four. And the way Avengers Doomsday is shaping up, it's almost certain the events will roll directly into Secret Wars, which, if you've read the comics, you know that was a massive multiversal reset, a literal hard reboot of everything. And honestly, that's kind of what the MCU needs right now, a clean slate, a narrative escape hatch. Now, of course, the word reboot makes the fan base twitch, like someone just spoiled the post-credit scene. You mention it online and suddenly you're public enemy number one. And hey, I get it. It does sound like the easy way out of Marvel's recent mess, but the way I see it, that's not the entire thing. That's not really the case. This reboot, whether it's soft or full scale, isn't just some lazy marketing gimmick. It's a real chance, a chance to reimagine the MCU without all the restrictions, the legal red tape, and the storytelling compromises that define the early phases. No more storytelling gymnastics, no more pretending mutants didn't exist, no more filling gaps with alternate versions of or variants to dodge the fact that half of the Marvel universe was missing. It's time to go all in. If there's anything the MCU is well known and frankly highly praised for, is that it has always been great at adapting lesser known stories into live action gold. Now imagine that same magic applied to the entire Marvel roster. The family drama and scientific wonder of the Fantastic Four, the ethical tension and cultural metaphor of the X-Men, the cosmic potential of the Silver Surfer, Galactus, and more, the street-level grittiness of Daredevil alongside the mythic presence of Thor. With the right creative vision and faithfulness to the source material, this reboot can bring everything under one roof and make it feel whole. If you're a long-time Marvel fan, this isn't just a reboot. I can't really say it's just a reboot. It's more of a redemption arc. The MCU now has the chance to tell complete stories, to shift focus from just the Avengers but to other teams as well, other ideologies, other worlds. The X-Men alone offers a gold mine of movies which commentary on race, class, identity, and power, things that hit even harder today than they did decades ago. And as someone who only really started to appreciate these characters recently, since I've been binging a lot of X-Men movies and shows lately, it's almost overwhelming how good the potential is. Characters like Storm, Magneto, Wolverine, Cyclops, actual characters with internal conflicts and evolving beliefs colliding with the polished world of the MCU creates a kind of narrative friction that's incredibly exciting. This is the moment where Marvel can move beyond the fun popcorn movie mode and start exploring the deeper stories it was always meant to tell. They have already proven they can make audience care about raccoons, androids, and guys with bows. Now, imagine what they can do when they have got full access to the heart of Marvel. But I think the core of the reboot is to be able to recast some characters who were killed off or not given the shine and appreciation they were meant to have. To also fix more storylines that work symmetrically with certain characters, like Ultron being created by Ant-Man, Wanda and Quicksilver being children of Magneto, and so many other things that the MCU just had to tweak or change to create the kind of story they wanted to tell, and were limited to telling. A chance to rebuild the universe with all the right pieces, a chance to fix what didn't work and amplify what did, a chance to finally give fans the full Marvel experience. And if Marvel can embrace everything that made the comics iconic while applying the cinematic magic that made the MCU what it is without compromise, that is what makes the MCU reboot kinda exciting. If you have made it this far, drop a comment letting me know what side you're on. Do you think the MCU should be rebooted or not? And what Marvel storyline or character you're more excited to see in the rebooted MCU? And hey, if this video gave you a little hope for Marvel's future, hit the like button and subscribe. It really helps the channel out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.